Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the AI with Arun show. My name is Arun, and you are with the AI with Arun show. In today's episode, I'm very thrilled to welcome a truly visionary leader in the tech industry, Prasad Bhandarkar. As a senior director of analytics for Reality Labs at Meta, Prasad is at the forefront of developing groundbreaking AR and VR technologies. With a rich background in data engineering and a passion for innovation, he plays a pivotal role in shaping the future of the metaverse and immersive technologies. Join me as we dive into his insights on analytics, emerging technologies, and what lies ahead for immersive experiences. Prasad is an alumni of IIM Lucknow, and he's also an executive education program from the Haas School of Business in UC Berkeley. So, very warm welcome to you, Prasad.
Thank you, Arun. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, and thank you so much, Prasad, for taking the time to talk to our viewers.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. I've been following this podcast for a while. So thanks for inviting me. Before we start, I just wanted to make one thing very clear that I'm here in my personal capacity and I'm not speaking for Meta. All the views I'm expressing here are my own.
No, absolutely, Prasad. Thank you for clarifying that. So, Prasad, let's jump in. So, your role is a senior director. You're working in the Reality Labs at Meta. So, talk to our viewers about what this entails. What does it mean to be a senior director working at Reality Lab at Meta?
I think any a director of analytics or leader of analytics role is about, especially in a B2C context, is about shedding a light through data on customer behavior. Typically, in business to consumer context, a lot of people are using your products and how they are interacting with the product. What are they liking? What are they disliking? Where is the friction in that experience? All that stuff is basically surfaced by analytics. And in some ways, analytics plays the role of being the voice of customer on the products and keeps the rest of the organization real about what's happening versus what they think should happen. So Reality Labs or Meta is no different. We play a big role in keeping the product teams honest, so to say, about what's happening in the product, how customers are interacting with the products, what they're liking, what are they disliking, and what could be the ideas to improve the product further so that the product market fit gets deeper. So that's essentially my role. That is to shine the light on customer behavior.
No, that's excellent. Thank you, Prasad. Prasad, so talk to our viewers about, how is analytics driving decision making in AR VR development in your role?
Meta is very regimented in how we operate internally. Like we operate like group of startups where software engineering, product management, data engineering, data science, design, research, and all other functions that are required to make a product successful. We work together in close partnership. And each of us have our roles. In some ways, product managers decide what to build, engineers build that product, data engineers collect the insights out of that, data science goes deeper into that. And it sort of works in a very close circle and completes the feedback loop very fast. And that allows us to move very fast in iterating on products and improving them and getting them to a deeper product market fit.
Yeah, so great. Prasad, let's take a step back. Let's just talk about immersive technologies a little bit. So, what are immersive technologies? If you can explain that to some of our viewers, number one, and number two, what are some of the challenges that you see in analyzing data? As the data comes in from all of these elements that you capture, right? All these devices that you're building, how do you use that data to capture? But first, if we can start talking about, what really are immersive technologies?
Let's talk about immersive technologies. It's a great question. Let's take an example. Like we are right now conversing with each other, right? You are probably somewhere in your home. I am in my home office, even though the background is changed. But nonetheless, we are interacting with each other through basically a flat window. whether it's a small window in form of a mobile phone, or in my case, I actually have a pretty a decent sized monitor, 49 inches. So it's like a bigger window. Nonetheless, it's a flat window. And that interaction puts several constraints on how we come across that interaction. Uh, I read somewhere that like a lot of signals that humans pick up in their conversations are nonverbal signals, and a lot of those nonverbal signals are missed out in this kind of interaction. Immersive technologies try to bridge that gap by sort of getting the people who are interacting in same virtual space. So that can be in form of virtual reality, where we are teleported to some different reality, some completely different surroundings, and we co-locate there. Or it could be mixed reality, where we you're sort of teleported in my environment, and vice versa. But like the reality around you stays the same, and it's actually digitally recreated using cameras and computer vision. And then the third part is, of course, augmented reality, which is like the gold state, where the reality is what you see, but that there is an overlaying of digital objects. So those are the three formats. My favorite example to give in this case is my father, who is 86 years old. He's right now in India, in a city called Pune. He's a big tennis fan, and I am not exactly big on tennis. I follow cricket much more. But imagine that I want to go with him to watch a Wimbledon match, and let's take it even a step further. Let's say I want to watch that match with him from the Royal Box, right? It is almost impossible for him to travel. It is very rare for me and him to sit even in front of the television together to watch Wimbledon, because it's that time of the year where I'm busy, and so on. But this immersive technology can allow us to watch these kind of experiences together, as if we are sitting next to each other, and interacting with the experience, and interacting with each other as if we are in close proximity. It's a pretty amazing experience, and I'll tell you, when I first realized how amazing it is. I joined Reality Labs about 5 years ago to the time. If you remember, 5 years ago, around this time, the pandemic had just started setting in. And I joined it in the middle of pandemic. So like I was working from home like everyone else. And I had never met people from my own team in person for long time. It was almost 6 months. And at that time, we were developing this software called Venues. It was like a very early virtual reality experience. And the engineering team had basically set up the structure in such a way that anyone internal could like sign up for some music concert or something like that, perform or entertain in some ways, and other people could attend that in virtual reality. I remember 5 years ago, this was a very rudimentary virtual reality. It was a big stadium and so on. As you might know, I am into music. I play flute. So I said, you know what, let me sign up for that. And I recorded myself so that I could see on the big screen. And then right from here, I tried to attend my own concert in virtual reality. And boy, that experience was so wonderful. Like it was the first time that I had a sense that I was actually in physical proximity to my teammates. We were chatting about it. We were actually gossiping about how badly I was playing or whatever. For some strange reason, in that auditorium, the software engineering team had set up a basketball hoop. I don't, just for fun. So we did that. We drank a virtual champagne, and that experience was something totally different. And that really made me realize how this, when its full potential is realized, can transform everyone's life. Just to add a small anecdote, when I came to United States some 25 years ago, uh, the way to interact with my parents was on basically phone lines. It used to cost, believe it or not, 55 cents a minute. So you literally talk to them while looking at your watch. Today, we can just at a click of a dial jump into a video conference and see them. Now, imagine a world where even that barrier is gone, and like I find myself in virtually in their living room, or they find themselves in my living room in a virtual context. That is the utopia, and that is the impact that it can create on people.
Yeah, so that's wonderful, Prasad. I mean, especially the way it becomes so personalized, right? People, distances don't are not a barrier anymore, right? Time zones are not a barrier anymore, but everybody can be all together. So, Prasad, obviously these are very complicated devices. There is a lot of complicated software engineering behind it, right, and data engineering behind it. How are you collecting all the different diverse set of data from all the different sources, and what kind of analytical techniques are you applying on them?
Well, collecting data from the devices is not that different from, say, collecting data from a mobile app and so on. Like, obviously, there is an operating system layer in it. There is privacy constraints in it, like people can opt in or opt out from various features. So there's already on-device filter on what data flows back. But then that data flows back to the server, and from there we build our pipelines. Now, there are some special situations like there are two big devices right now we have in the market, Quest 3 and the virtual reality devices, Quest 3, Quest 3S, and the smart glasses like the one that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, are
Now,
you wearing the smart glass right now? Sorry,
yes,
that interrupt. Yeah, okay.
limited edition of Ray-Ban Meta. As you can see, it has cameras here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it has a pretty good speaker system, and has pretty amazing integration with Meta AI, and it's getting better and better with every software release. We are about to release. I think we have released it for uh, early adopters, the live translation feature. Now, imagine what that might, how that can be useful when you go for your Europe vacation, or for that matter, go to India, like where there are so many languages, right? So, but this device particularly poses a challenge because it is not directly connected to internet continuously. It is connected to internet through the phone. So sometimes you might not have all the telemetry flow immediately to the server. So it creates its own set of challenges on how you architect telemetry and how do you get it to the server with the least amount of power drain. So there are those kind of challenges. Now, once that data flows to the backend, there are several things that we try to do. Number one is like focus on the consumer friction. Like, do we have any unusual number of crashes or battery drains, or like this has, for example, the Bluetooth power consumption and so on and so forth. So that's one category of analytics, like performance reliability type of analytics. The other thing is just figuring out how many active users are using what kind of features. Which features are more frequently used, which features that we think are very valuable, but they're not used as much, and therefore, how can we educate users more? And those kind of analytics are pretty interesting. I'll give you more examples as we go further in the conversation, but there are uh, uh, at a base level, there are just simple number counting, how many crashes, how many battery drains, how many daily active users, those kind of things. But once you go beyond that, there are actually pretty interesting applications of AI and ML that we also use, which we'll talk about.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Bharat, let's talk about the data engineering part. You sort of already were talking about it, but let's go a little bit deeper. So, data engineering and the AI part. So, your background is extensively in data engineering, right? So, how is that influencing the approach that you take at Reality Labs? How is it bringing your own experiences here?
I think, in my case, I actually started using data systems from my very first job, from the days where the terms like big data and data engineering did not exist. So I've always had passion for this topic. What I've always believed, even from those days, and especially subsequently from my days in Adobe and now, is that the biggest skill that data analytics people ought to have is not so much of the technical skills, which again, I'm not trying to diminish them at all, especially when we are dealing with massive amounts of data. Building data foundation in the most efficient way is extremely important. But uh, the skill of understanding the business model and understanding the right customer questions or product questions, and then tying them to like the state of the art uh, technology that might be available is the big problem that you can solve. And there's a lot of creativity as well as the science involved in that. Science in form of understanding business knowledge, business context of what you're trying to do, but creativity because not all technology or ML or AI problems can solve everything. And then like there is a how do you marry the two in a most constructive way? So to give you an example, so first of all, like the one of the challenges that we tend to have compared to our siblings in Facebook or Instagram, where there's a massive amount of data, right? Because of the scale that they operate in. In our reality labs devices, hopefully one day we'll reach there. But like in the early days, the data volumes are fairly low. So how do you come up with creatively providing the insights on what actionable insights on what to do? So to give you an example, let's say in a large scale app situation, you can do a product release or a software release in phases. So in case of the larger apps like Facebook and Instagram, they would probably seed that new software. Of course, there's a much larger internal dog fooding community as well, and therefore they get much better signal on that. But once you release that software, maybe you release it to a small percent, 0.5 or 1% of the install base. And that itself is such a massive install base that immediately you'll start getting signals on, hey, so something is wrong with this build. There are too many crashes and so on, and therefore you can like pull it back or issue a fix without affecting the entire the population. In our case, that signal is very, very weak because the install base is not that much, and then some of these devices don't get updated immediately. So one of the ways around that we found, we call it a voice of customer solution, where a lot of times the early adopters or real enthusiasts start talking about what's happening on social groups which are open on the internet, say a Reddit group or like Facebook group or whatever. Like it's basically these are internet forums that you can just look up. So can we get a signal from those? And then can we get the signal from our customer support system and like collect all those signals and then apply a classification mechanism to come up with themes that, hey, like the biggest crashes that we are observing are because of X, right? And then we can basically, based on that classification algorithm, it's algorithm called Gantt-Burt algorithm. If you are interested, you can look up. You can come up with themes, and then you can say focus our engineering teams on the most impactful themes that will solve the biggest problems. Because without that classification algorithm, you don't know what you're seeing on the internet. Is it a signal or a noise? Right. So that is one example of applying ML techniques on top of the data that we collect to get ahead of the signal that we traditionally would have gotten, but because of the low volumes, we don't get.
Yeah, wonderful, Prasad. Prasad, you alluded to, talking about some of the AI and applications that are being built on top of these devices or top of these technologies. So maybe if you can talk a little bit more about some of the technologies or the applications that are being built using your immersive.
I'll talk about a couple of applications. Uh, one of the things that we are particularly proud of is, as you know, that these devices are sold through, say, places like Best Buy. I mean, Best Buy, you would have, or Target, you would have basically a store in store. There's a area where Meta products are displayed, and you'll see you can actually try them out there, and if you like them, you pick them up and go to the counter and scan them and check out. uh, Now, one of the things that for that to work is that uh, that display has to be set up per the specifications, right? There should be, it should be to begin with, clean and brand appropriate, right? There should be enough inventory for people to buy. The demo devices should be in their right place, right? Now, as it happens, we have a third-party agency that actually goes to these stores and once a week or something like that, and takes pictures of these displays. And we actually apply computer vision algorithms on top of those pictures to figure out which stores have displays in good shape and which stores don't have them in good shape. And then we work with those stores to apply corrective measures, whether it's low inventory or missing inventory or whatever that might be. So this is also pretty cool, and there's nothing unique about this, about our particular display. You can imagine in any retail context, these kind of ideas can be applied.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's a brilliant way because irrespective of the scale, but the kind of framework and solutions you're building, it can be taken and scaled up at any larger retail level. So that's beautiful.
Cool. One of the other things I actually forgot to mention is, in immersive computing, analytics takes a completely different flavor. So let's say you are in a virtual environment. Let's say you are in a game, right? A 3D game that is completely submerged, and you have to go through a progression of levels, right? Or let's say you are in a metaverse environment where there is some scenery and you're sort of stuck there. Now, you could imagine that traversing those environments or progressing through the games, that might have some hurdles, right? Now, how do you get insights on that without building custom analytics for every single game and every single app? So that is the problem that we worked on, and we are very proud of this solution as well. We call internally call it Project Turbo, which basically is Google Analytics for immersive environments. And it can create heat maps of where people are spending time. If you those heat maps don't uh, coincide with where in that virtual environment you expect people to spend time, right? That there is something wrong. Or like in gaming, as you move through various stages, if you're stuck on, or there's a drop-off rate higher on at one particular stage, uh, maybe you should consider reducing the difficulty of that stage so that people stay in the game for longer. So we're very proud of this solution as well, because anytime a new environment or a new game is built, we don't have to really go and build analytics from scratch. And believe it or not, there's so many frictions that we have proactively solved, so that people can use those applications in a more effective way.
No, that's completely understandable because the kind of solution that you're building. I mean, if I'm able to proactively identify frictions, then business decisions can be taken in order to alleviate those. So that's brilliant. So Prasad, let's talk about team management, right? So you have held managerial roles for such a long time. There's a very complicated piece that you're building with your teams. So talk to our viewers about some of the how do you manage distributed teams, because of course you have teams all over the world, right? So how do you manage distributed teams, and how do you balance the need for innovation with something that needs to be delivered here and now?
I think that's a great question, and my team is a big part of that team is of course in Bay Area, but also a big part is in Seattle. We have presence in LA, New York, London, Zurich, and a large percentage of them are also completely virtual, including myself, by the way, because I don't go to office, which is about hour of drive one way from here. I think one of the best ways to manage, first of all, managing time zones, which is make sure that, and this is not necessarily my strategy, this is the larger organization strategy, that when I was talking about these small startups within a larger company, right? All these functions that work together on a particular problem, we have to make sure that we co-locate them in a location. So let's say a team in Zurich, like all their counterparts will be there, and so therefore most of the collaboration happens on site and in that time zone, and they don't have to stay awake in the evening more than they have to collaborate with US West Coast. We have tried to maintain that as much as possible, the time zone discipline. Secondly, this is also a very unique nature of how we work internally. We extensively use our own tool called Workplace, which is sort of Facebook for businesses, right? And the culture here is, rather than keeping your idea and discussing with a couple of people or keeping it in emails, we encourage people to post their ideas there, and then the algorithms in that workplace would surface those posts to the right people, and you'll get feedback in terms of comments and so on pretty extensively. And the culture being as open as it is, we try to do much of that, and like even when people you get critical comments or constructive feedback and so on, people don't take that personally. They take that to make their work product better. Of late, we have also started using extensively like Google Docs and so on and so forth for collaboration. So the culture of having meetings for every small thing is much lower in Meta. A lot of decision making or a lot of conversation do happen virtually, and that gives a certain level of velocity.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way, Prasad, of encouraging innovation in the company. Because a lot of time I've seen companies, the innovation culture fails because people restrict it to their own small little groups. So I'm talking to somebody who is like me and has similar ideas versus going to someone who has a very diverse kind of idea set than what I have. And that's a brilliant way of promoting innovation.
On coming up with ideas and roadmaps. So in many companies, there is a notion that there's a big brain sitting somewhere higher up in the hierarchy, and all the ideas flow through that brain, and everyone else is worker bees. We don't work that way. We actually expect even the people who join fresh from college, we encourage them to come up with their own roadmap, with their own ideas, and those ideas take influence from what they are hearing from the product leadership and their understanding of product context. Role of people like me and others becomes giving feedback on those ideas, as well as creating some kind of focus for my overall organizations. But like some of the examples that I gave you, they're not necessarily my personal ideas. Those ideas also surface through the team. That's why I was harping on the fact that the biggest skill in this area is marrying the business context with the cool technology solutions. The example that I gave you about the computer vision, those solutions do exist, but applying them in that store context was pretty creative. So coming back to that point, like a lot of road mapping and a data artifact building vision around that. It's also democratized all over the organization rather than being completely top down, and that gives another massive boost to the velocity at which we can operate.
Yeah, no, wonderful. So let's talk about the trends a little bit, right? I mean, you guys are basically defining what the trends would look like in the AR VR space, in the immersive technology space. So talk to our viewers about, where is the future look like in the next 3 to 4 5 years? Where do you see these technologies go?
I think so. First of all, we recently actually showcased the future. If you saw this year's Meta Connect, we announced something called Project Orion, which is basically these kind of glasses, but with a display. Now, imagine these glasses themselves are what you're seeing is this is actually a special edition glass. That's why it's transparent. But this is the normal product that you get in the market is basically the Ray-Ban Wayfarer glasses. And if you compare the regular wayfarers that are not smart and the smart wayfarers, you will barely notice the difference in the weight, right? This is what I think not just us but the industry learned from the Google glasses that were launched a decade ago. The biggest learning out of that was people would not tolerate any wearable devices that don't naturally fit into their lifestyle. So that's why we put in a lot of effort in creating the form factors that are very natural for people to use. You're wearing glasses, I'm wearing glasses, so this is no big deal. But coming back to Project Orion, we obviously are a few years away from completing the mass market version of that device. But right now, that device has all the basic building blocks that are required for a true augmented reality device. Now, imagine what that might mean. Like today, if you want to go somewhere, you naturally pull up your smartphone and go to Google Maps or something like that, and that shows you the direction, and you have to keep that smartphone in the hand while you're walking or driving or whatever. That sort of stuff just goes away. Like your glasses will show you like probably a green path on which you can just walk, or the green road on which you can drive, because that green path is actually superimposed on the actual reality, right? Or you can have digital coupons while walking next to your favorite shops, or any number of applications. So in my view, that is the ultimate utopia of where this is headed. Once those kind of devices come into market, you will increasingly find it you know using your smartphone will become a little bit of a thing of the past. I'll give you another personal example. Recently I was attending a wedding of a family friend, and the ceremony was like going on and on for a couple of hours. So like everyone is sitting there trying to pay attention. So I was secretly thinking maybe I should have had like augmented reality glasses, and I could have had the cricket match on, and I could have put one eye on the cricket match while watching the wedding without anyone even realizing. Right. So that's the future that we are not that far away from. I think when I joined Reality Labs some 5 years ago, so solving some of those problems were probabilistic. Like this was like basically a fight against the physics and of the devices, but like a lot of those problems are now seeing in the grasp. It's not like probabilistic. It's fairly easy to say now that those problems are going to get solved. It's a matter of time. So that's the future that we are heading towards. And then, of course, the integration of AI into all these devices. And even this device that doesn't have display, adding AI in that is so amazing. Like you can ask it whatever questions that you have in mind. One of my favorite use cases is like go for a walk, and instead of like listening to the podcast or something, keep asking AI interactive questions. And these days, like not just Meta AI, but pretty much all the AIs that you get, they are getting so good that they give you pretty deep answers on esoteric topics that are on top of your mind.
Yeah, that's right. And Meta AI, especially because open source, right? So a lot of the founders that I speak with on this show, one of the questions I used to ask them about, ChatGPT or Gemini or Llama, and many of the founders would tell me that it's Llama because it's open source and it has equally robust capabilities as any other.
Yeah, and again, we are early days, so who knows how this is going to
Yeah.
play out. I actually in my browser I have all three, like ChatGPT, Meta AI, and Google Gemini. I I ask all sorts of interesting questions to those three at the same time. I've asked them about quantum physics. I've asked them about even philosophical topics like what is Maya and what is those kind of things. And the answers they give are pretty interesting. I would say that Gemini these days they're still focusing on giving you hyperlinks, whereas like Meta and ChatGPT tends to give you full essay type of an answer. And I personally prefer the essay type of an answer rather than following links. But it's not like Google cannot give that kind of answer. It is just that's how they've chosen to build a product. So, like we are living in an exciting times. This AI revolution is transformative. It already has changed quite a few things.
Yeah, yeah. So, Prasad, talk now that we're talking about the future. So, for both AI and advanced analytics, all right, what excites you the most about many of the advancements that are coming in? Which of these technologies or which of these feature set, I would say, excite you the most?
I think at at the if you think about AI in itself is pretty exciting. But what I like to call is AI plus. So AI plus robotics equal to self-driving cars. AI plus robotics equal to humanoid robots, and then each of them have their own stories, right? AI plus healthcare, right? Equal to automated diagnostics, targeted medicine. A friend of mine is a cancer specialist doctor, and he was telling me about how they go about creating basically cancer medicines that actually go and target the specific type of cancer. And he was saying that that is almost like a data problem. Like basically you extract the DNA from, and I'm not expert in this, so pardon me if I got it wrong, but you extract the DNA from the tumor, tends to be very unique. And then like you can actually create the targeting medicine that is based on that. And like AI and data plays a big role according to him in achieving that. We can talk about digital twins, for example. Some of these devices, when we design, we actually have modeled the components. So without actually having physical device, you can actually play around in compact space how those individual components are going to coexist. How do they interact with each other? Do they create noise on each other, and so on and so forth, before even you create the physical device. You can talk about AI in context of coding, right? I mean, these days it's no surprise that a lot of code is generated by AI, and that itself gives velocity. So it's essentially AI plus of any number of areas, and I'm sure that we haven't talked about thousands of areas. I mean, just to going back to the place where you and I worked together in back in Adobe, right? We used to work on the digital marketing problem, right? And the digital marketing, the basically the flywheel is very sleek, which is like you come up with a target segment, you based on the data foundation that you have already built. You provide them personalized experience. You collect the analysis data from that on how they interacted with that experience, whether it's an email or text message or like a digital ad or whatever that might be. And then you enrich the platform and continue with that flywheel. The part that was slowest in that flywheel is actually generating the content for that email or content for that digital ad. And now you can see, like, you can basically have prompts and these AIs generate content. You can easily imagine that you can build that content, actually dish it out, and by evening you actually get the signal which content resonated with people. And so it is amazing where we are heading, and yeah, this future is exciting in this
Yeah,
AI.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. I mean, there's a bit of A/B testing that you can do for pretty much anything today. It's so easy to generate content and material for whatever you are doing, be it digital marketing or elsewhere. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Mm. So, Prasad, talking about some of the given the experience that you have had, right? So, what would your advice be for young professionals or even learners uh, in terms of what industries are most impacted by these immersive technologies, and where should, if I'm a young professional looking to build my career on, where should I be focused on, and if I have interest in immersive technologies?
That's a difficult question. Like, if you're a young professional, you typically need to figure out like which part of this equation excites you. Like, you could be a person who wants to become a doctor, and maybe there is a super specialization coming where you can be a medical doctor plus analytics person. So those kind of like synergies will start coming about. So like, I'm not saying that everyone should be a data engineer in order for them to be in this area and be effective. You could be a robotics expert who wants to use this. So it's like first figuring that out, and what is your passion. I also would like to say that, like, I believe that data engineering in a generic way is very well suited for supporting this emerging world of AI, because no matter what type of AI you use, the biggest thing that you have to do is like train that with highly effective data. And there is whole bunch of techniques there. Data acquisition, how do you apply privacy lens to that? How do you curate the data sets? How do you prepare that data through curation, annotation, labeling, whatever? How do you enrich that data? How do you evaluate the model performance, and so on? All these areas over the years have been figured out as part of data engineering discipline. So that's why I believe that data engineers actually are very well suited to be in the forefront of like powering the AIs and creating the data foundation that actually works on enriching the AI.
Interesting, interesting, and very good insights. So, Prasad, what is your personal vision for the future of reality labs?
Oh gosh, my personal vision, like, I think bringing uh, AR, VR, and its potential into reality. Like, it's a multi-pronged problem. And it's I don't want to call it a personal vision. I would say that it's a not just challenge in front of probably us, but also anyone in the industry who wants to play in this AR, VR space. Because uh, there's of course technology and the battle with physics problem, right? And as I said, like, we feel that we are very close to solving that, as demonstrated by Project Orion. But beyond that, like, you run into this classic flywheel problem, right? People won't use devices because they don't have content, and content producers won't, or app writers or whatever, they won't create these 3D apps because there aren't enough users. So, like, the industry as a whole has to figure out how to start that content flywheel. Like the example that I mentioned to you, the Wimbledon example, or like maybe we can talk about cricket example. There is an India-Australia Test match starting in a couple of days in biggest grounds in the world. Uh, that content is today not produced in 3D, so therefore it is you cannot access that in 3D. Now, by the way, if you watch that content in augmented mixed reality, which means just put on Quest 3 or something and in the browser watch that match. I have a 95-inch TV in my entertainment room, but if I wear that Quest 3 and watch that match, that screen becomes so big, or it can become as big as I want, and that experience itself is pretty amazing. But as I said, like the immersive content there's a lot of opportunity to create that one. There are other interesting problems there. Like, of course, cricket match you can have, like, or any sports you can have various vantage points in the sports arena. But what does it mean to create immersive content for Hollywood type of productions? So I was watching the other day on Netflix my favorite series, The Crown, on the life of Queen Elizabeth. And imagine that there's a scene there that the Queen is talking to the Prime Minister. Now, in the immersive context, how will that work? Are you supposed to be in the Buckingham Palace in that room? How does that work? So all that creative aspects probably need to be figured out by the people who know those the best. They have had a track record of dealing with technology. I remember back in the days there was a movie called Who Framed the Roger Rabbit, and it was the first movie where the real world and animation coexisted, and that was a big deal. And of course, then that is sort of a given these days, right? But then there's a new evolution yet to be had in that dimension. So I guess the next problem to solve there is, how do you get that flywheel going, where you have the devices, you have the technology. Now how do you have user adoption on one side and content adoption on the other side? So once that happens, I think it'll take off.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of sort of ending your answer, the user adoption and content creation, because that will give a lot of our viewers or people who are watching and listening in ideas to think about maybe for the next startup.
Yep. There are, by the way, already some videos on YouTube that are actually immersive. And watching them on a YouTube VR app on Quest 3 gives you a completely different experience that you wouldn't even imagine. There is a series of videos of this channel called Darbar Festival. They have produced it on Indian classical music, but instead of producing it in a traditional auditorium, they produced it in a natural setting. So, like, you can sit right in front of the artist who's performing, and if you turn around and there's a river going by, and then there's a temple there, and so it completely changes how you engage even with something simple. And that kind of content production is not that easy. You get some $500 VR 360 cameras these days, and like all you need to do is sit in front of that and produce. So it is not as esoteric as people might think. It is the tools are available even today.
Yeah. And like you said, right, the adoption is only going to go up from here.
Yeah. By the way, a lot of people don't even know that iPhones uh, normal video shooting or photo shooting can be done in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be seen on VR devices, whether it's Apple's or ours. So, but the tools are getting there, and in fact, in many cases, they are already there. We just don't know about it.
Right. Wonderful. Prasad, so that brings us towards the last segment of our show, which is the rapid fire round. Are you all set?
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. So here was the first one. So what is the most overrated AI trend right now?
I would say uh, there is a lot of hype around regulating AI. And when people talk about regulating AI, I often believe that they are missing the bigger picture completely. I'm not saying that AI should not be regulated, but regulating AI is a, a small piece of a problem. The bigger piece of a problem is when all this productivity is unleashed by AI. On the utopian side, like humans should be able to ride on that productivity and actually reclaim some time back for whatever they want to do in personal life. So in theory, in that world, work week might become 1 or 2 day work week, and it will become exactly the opposite of today. You work for 2 days and enjoy life for 5 days, or something similar to that. How do we go from here to there, right? And by the way, if we reach there, how does the larger economy work, right? If you think about it, even simple thing, our government runs based on our taxes. And if you think about our taxes, that our taxes are based on per hour unit work. Now, if the number of hours worked by people go down, and the value add to the economy is more and more done by AI, how do you think about taxation? How does the government work, right? And
Yeah.
what part of government itself needs to be enabled by AI? So there's lots of interesting policy questions in front of us. I think when people think about regulating AI, they are probably thinking about pulling back AI. Uh,
Mm.
I think we should think about how do we harness the full potential of AI in the least disruptive way. In the past, society has had tendency to say, oh, people who are at the receiving end of that productivity somehow need to retrain them to something else, and so on. That is just not feasible model, and especially with the exponential increase in productivity gain, it's not a feasible model, and therefore we need to think about that bigger picture rather than like the hype word of regulating AI. So the real question is, what are the policy solutions to various facets of AI?
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, Prasad. All right. So the next one, what is the one AI skill that everyone should learn today to be better prepared for tomorrow?
I think we talked about that, right? Think about the AI plus, and then learn that plus part, but make sure that you learn data, and particularly data engineering skills, so that like you can marry whatever you do in your profession that you're passionate about, the force of AI to take it to a completely next level.
Yeah, and you're right, Prasad, because we see it already. There's AI applications in everything that you do, right? So no area is being left unaffected or untouched by AI.
Right, but I think people have to realize that things are not going to happen automatically. The
Yeah.
AI is not just going to make automatic foray into their fields. You still need specialization in that field to harness the power of AI. So that's why that AI plus
Mhm.
concept is very important.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The third one, what emerging technologies do you believe will have the biggest impact on our daily lives in the
I
next
think this
five
also
years?
we talked about. I mean, in the AI plus and the list that I talked about, like I drive Tesla, and quite frankly, I can't imagine driving anything else. Given that basically AI drives me so reliably, especially on freeways. I know that they're working on internal roads and so on, and even that is getting better. So, like. The cognitive load that you have to put in into driving, that somehow is reduced, even though you have to keep your hands on the wheel and keep focusing on the driving. But like let's say you are in a start stop traffic, that can really frustrate you. But like if the car is driving itself, it reduces a lot of cognitive load from you. So all these AI plus technologies are as exciting as they could be. And obviously, you're preaching to the choir if you talk about immersive computing as a complementary technology to it as well.
Yeah. No, wonderful. Okay, the next one, what is the one common misconception about AR VR that you would like to clear?
I think a lot of people that I talk to think that AR/VR is something that is of a distant future. And I think that even though, as I said, like the true augmented reality glasses are probably a year or two, a few years away. I don't know how long, but even the pieces that we have today, they are very useful. It is just that people haven't applied their mind at a scale to make them useful. I have started reading examples like there was an article a few, at least a couple of years back, that the Ukrainian military was training using how to fly F-16s, even though US hadn't given them F-16s, but they were training their pilots using virtual reality or something like that. That's one example. I've seen examples in like teaching people fine surgeries and those kind of things. So these are very powerful examples that are enabled even today. It is just that we don't have enough scale around this. So like the biggest misconception is like people thinking that this is some distance away. It is here. It is just for a matter of people realizing that it is here.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. Okay, the next one. If you could give one piece of advice to someone aspiring to enter the field of data analytics in tech, what would it be?
I think focus on finding your passion and focus on learning the data technologies, Python, SQL, various ML techniques, and there are courses around that. But then marrying your passion with those techniques to come up with some cool ideas, that is the most difficult problem to solve. And like any creative art, this is a creative art in its own way, and coming up with those ideas requires going at it and like creating a mess in some cases, and like learning from that, getting up and exploring it, and you'll get better at it. So focus on building blocks of data and building blocks of whatever it is that you're passionate about, and then figuring out how to marry those two.
Brilliant. Okay, and then the last one. If AI could take over one of your daily tasks completely, what would it be?
Oh gosh, that's easy. There's a bunch of dishes to be done here. There's a bunch of laundry to be folded there. I wish there was a humanoid butler in our house who could do all that, and like it would ease my life. Just before this, like the microwave was not working, so I had to replace that. So I hope someday humanoid robot replaces that. Somehow the garage home kit was not working. I had to do something with that. All these small things, if they're taken care of, or even if some of these corner cases are not taken care of, but like laundry folding or dishwashing is taken care of, I'll be a happy person.
Yeah, no, I can't agree with you
By the
more.
way,
I do the dishes at home.
I did not include actually cooking in that, because I love cooking, and
Mm.
that's another thing, like, which is in this post AI world. Maybe humanoid robots are capable of cooking, but you have to figure out what is it that you want to do personally, and what is it that you want to leave it to AI and robotics.
Yeah, no, you're right, Prasad. I could not agree more with you because on the dishwasher side, I do the dishes at home, so I would love to outsource it to a robot.
Yeah,
All
well,
right.
humanoid robots are also. It looks like they're around the corner.
Yeah, yeah,
Lots of buzz around that. So let's see. Maybe in 5 years, we will have our personal butlers.
yeah. No, absolutely. Right. So, Prasad, with that note, that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so much for spending the time with our viewers.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Prasad.